2024. Scott, how you doing?
Great, Randy.
Excellent. Thanks so much for joining us today.
Hey, it's an honor to be with you and glad to have a chance to talk to some of the other folks from the sales community and others that'll be listening in.
Awesome. Fantastic. Really excited to have Scott Strubel, Vice President of the Americas Partner Organization at Darktrace. Darktrace, as you learn, is a cybersecurity AI company based out of the UK. Our title topic today is the first 90 days as a new leader, which he has just gone through himself. So that'll be great. And lots of other fantastic insights as well we're going to be discussing. We're sponsored by Gong, who's the revenue intelligence sponsor of Sales Community, and a terrific company. For those that are members of Sales Community, thanks so much. For those that are not, Tucker just threw up a free link you can use, salescommunity.com/winterfree. And as always, we have Tucker behind the scenes helping. So Tucker, thank you so very much. So by way of introduction, Scott lives in Chicago with his wife, Ann. 2 adult children and 2 grandchildren. Daughter Beata. I tried to write it down phonetically, who impressively enough is pursuing a PhD in engineering education, and a son, Kai, who's taken on the tech reins as our product manager for the Azure Commvault at Microsoft. So very cool there. I'm sure you must be very proud.
We are. Yep.
Great. And interest besides work and family, I know he's a big boater in Lake Michigan. I've just missed a couple times there with weather being able to take advantage and join you. And also by way of introduction, we'd worked together, overlapped a little bit in different groups at HP, but you're always a consummate professional. Partners always loved you. We would get your fingernails dirty. You're there to help. And certainly it's been great to track your career, and also really exciting about the new book you have coming up, which we will talk about. But from some others that know you well, got from Frank Rausch, who's a longtime channel partner, friend, and currently at Cato Networks. I've always admired Scott on his resiliency and tenacity. No matter how challenging the opportunity, he finds a way to win. Joe Santa Marina has a great story. He says, Scott is a data-driven leader. An example of this can be found back in 2013. NetApp executive leadership decided to defund and essentially shut down the sand screen business. It was less than $50 million at the time. The executives were looking at headcount cost savings and had targeted this business to capture a significant portion of these cost savings. Scott built a standalone P&L and business case for the sand screen, showing they were dramatically outperforming versus other similar software companies for their size and investment. B, were dramatically underfunded when he looked at the percentage of investment of software developers versus the total annual sales. The business review with the CEO, Tom Jordans, who I worked with in the 80s back in EMC. He was my engineering guy when I ran a marketing group. But anyway, the business review with the CEO, Tom, resulted in the sand screen business having 0 personnel cuts, and in fact, additional investments were made to strengthen the business. Today, that business represents over $250 million in software revenue and is the foundation of their SaaS product called Cloud Insights. How amazing is that?
That's very, very kind of Joey to say.
And then finally from Eric Mann, who is longtime NetApp and mainline. Actually, I'm not sure if he's still there or not, but awesome sales leader in his own right for sure. Scott is a consummate sales leader, always did his homework and came prepared for meetings, presented his ideas and thoughts in a cohesive manner with detailed reasoning and asks. He always had asks, so that's always good to do. Focused his plan on execution and results. I enjoyed having him on our team. So it's pretty good for the resume file, huh?
I'll tell you, when you can hear things like that from people like Frank and Eric and Joey, it's a good day, Randy.
Awesome. All great people for sure. And all Sales Community Advisory Board members like yourself. And for those that are watching along here or listening along, feel free to interject at any time with any comments at all, or ask any questions as we're kind of in our fireside chat here. So before we get into things, I mean, it's crazy. You had 11 childhood jobs which were built, was a foundation certainly for your life and career. But any kind of one or two in particular you want to highlight?
There's a couple. I've often told people that I do think some of the toughest jobs that we might have had as children inform us in ways we never would have realized until many years later. So I had a paper route when I was 9 years old, and I was in charge of accounts receivables and in charge of every storm window that I broke at 4 a.m. in the morning. Taught me a lot about showing up. I think one of the more interesting jobs I had at about the age of 17, I was peddling Apple II PCs to doctors and lawyers and showing them how I could run their entire office on VisiCalc, which I guess dates me a little bit.
There you go. Yeah, and how much memory was in those things?
Not very much.
That's crazy. So then now moving on to your professional background. So what was your first job after Indiana University, which was undergrad?
Yeah, so I was fortunate to co-op every other semester when I went to undergraduate at Indiana, and was working at HP back when IBM and HP had built product centers just to try to show people what personal computers were. And so I was part of the team that brought HP's first personal computer, the HP 150, to market, and I would demonstrate it every day in the suburbs of Chicago. And then when I came out of HP, they asked me to go somewhere halfway between Chicago and St. Louis to a large financial institution that's an insurance company. And I spent 5 years with one customer, and it taught me a whole lot about how to get one customer committed to you when you have nowhere else to go.
Awesome. And then briefly go through your impressive career from there.
So I was in sales for 5 years. I was promoted at 27 to a district manager, but only because I took a job that probably nobody else wanted. They were going to develop an inside sales call center, and they asked me to come up to Chicago and run inside sales, and I did that, and it turned out to be a fantastic learning about how to have a lower cost, lower touch model to go to market with your installed base. I followed that by, I was leaving HP in 97 to go to Oracle. I had accepted an offer as a district manager because HP at the time had shut down their manufacturing management and financial management software business. So I was on my way to Oracle, got a call from an EVP that I didn't know. And he said, why are you leaving? And I said, I want to build my career around software. And he said, well, I know something you don't. So I became one of the 7 founding management team members of what became HP Software. And we ran that from 24 million to 3.8 billion in 13 years. So it was a lot of learning and a lot of fun. And then I left there in 2010 to build the software business at NetApp that Joey Santamarina was talking about a moment ago. And we ran that in 5 years up to about $160 million. And then I took over the channel for the broader NetApp, and I left NetApp to go to Commvault to globalize a channel, which was an interesting exercise because, there's kind of only 2 ways you can run a channel organization. You can run it within the theaters of the world, in which case, you get whatever that theater leader wants, or you run it globally. And they globalized the budget and the headcount at Commvault under me, and learned a lot in doing that. First thing I think I learned is you don't actually need 70 distributors in Europe to run a software business. After Commvault, I left to go to Hitachi Vantara to be the chief commercial officer, or head of worldwide commercial sales. Did that for a few years and built up the mid-range of their product line to a much larger audience. And then I decided a dozen years in storage and storage management was enough, and wanted to get into cybersecurity and artificial intelligence, and found my way to Darktrace. And this is the first company I've ever cold called my way into, and I'm very glad that they were willing to have me.
Wow, that's fantastic. Congratulations. So Darktrace, certainly quite a switch from Hitachi. Tell us more about Darktrace.
Yeah, Darktrace began 10 years ago as an artificial intelligence lab in Cambridge in the UK. Has done a great job of building a great company before I got here in cybersecurity using artificial intelligence. So The company, Randy, is 10 years in, IPO'd in 2021 on the London Stock Exchange. And they've done a fantastic job of building a substantial and profitable cybersecurity AI software business. And now I'm here to help them make that business a whole lot bigger by accelerating growth through partners and different channels of distribution.
Awesome. And then kind of the go-to-market plan with partners, is it kind of up and down the kind of the pyramid, or just certain niches? What's the plan?
Yeah, so I work within Dan Monahan's global partner organization, and we have multiple types of partnerships, which include, the reseller channel, MSPs, MSSPs, technology alliance partners. We are huge partners with both Amazon AWS and with Microsoft Azure. So building, my job in the Americas will be to build out all types of partnerships, from technology alliances through to distribution and the resellers and the different managed security MSSPs that we'll go to market with.
Oh, awesome. You certainly have lots of best practices from your career, but any kind of one or two that you're especially leaning on now to help grow the partner business at Darktrace?
Yeah, what I'm leaning on, I guess we're all a victim for all that's good and bad of what's worked before for us and what maybe hasn't worked so well for us. And so the things that I'll bring into this role, as I work with some of the same partners I've had the wonderful opportunity to work with before, is to remember that what they want from their technology OEMs is a committed partnership. So our company, while this company has built a fantastic and substantial and profitable company, we've been doing what some people could probably rightly call opportunistic partnering. And we want to build substantial relationships with a set of partners and make big commitments. And I guess, Randy, to answer your question, directly, I've found one thing hasn't changed over the last 30 years, and that is that what partners want from their technology OEM vendor partners is predictability, consistency, and profitability. So we're going to keep our eyes focused on those three areas as we try to build the culture and the reputation we want to have in the way our partners will see us.
Well, that's fantastic. Huge uplift and great kind of, I guess, variable cost off balance sheet, way to really continue to go and grow. But certainly it's really competitive out there. So, all these, I always say, I think working at a channel partner or VAR, any of these companies, I think it's a lot harder than working at a vendor, because, Darktrace, I'm sure it's challenging. You only have one thing you need to know, right? If you're at a channel partner, there's a ton you need to know, a lot of different areas. So even within security, it's so many different layers. So kind of how do you come in kind of as the new name, kind of boxing out other companies that they might be working with, or kind of getting that face time and attention so they will in fact help sell Darktrace?
Yeah, a fair question. And you are correct. I mean, the Global 2000 customers, even within cybersecurity, have a large number of solutions that they're using for different specific purposes. And, all of our partners have a lot of vendors on their line cards. So, we're not here to demand loyalty. We're here to train and enable and help the partners understand where we collaborate and have strong APIs with other cybersecurity software companies, and where our software fits into the solution. We're going to do a lot of training. We just hired a guy called Doug Kreisen from Sequoia Cloud Solutions, part of Presidio, and he's going to be helping us work our sales and technical enablement of our partners. I've found over time, at the risk of being kind of simplistic, really good partner sellers, they sell what's profitable and they sell what's easiest to sell. So we're going to work with the pre-sale system engineers or solution architects, and we're going to build delivery professional services practices, and we're going to make our software very easy to position in what we call a proof of value, what many other people might refer to as a proof of concept, and help our partners make this easy to replicate as we continue to build out the customers. By the way, Darktrace has already almost 9,000 customers around the world today.
Wow.
But our job, if we do it right, is we're going to add another 6,000 in a hurry to that 9,000 we've got today.
Awesome. That's fantastic. And I know you've been hiring a lot. Are you still hiring? And if so, what positions?
Yeah, we're hiring fundamentally three roles. So I subscribe strongly to the idea that channel or partner sales professionals are sales professionals first. So we are hiring really good sales professionals. Many of them have carried a bag selling as part of a direct channel sales organization. Some of them have sold with our partners. And now they're going to help me in the world of working with our partners to sell more. So the three jobs we're hiring for are what we call channel managers, which are geographically distributed sales professionals that they know all things about the channel or a set of partners in a defined geography, which might be a set of provinces or states or countries in Latin America. The second job we're hiring are what we will call partner business managers. Sometimes they're generically referred to as national partner managers. So for some of the biggest companies that we expect to have 8-figure relationships with, we'll put somebody on there that wakes up every Monday morning thinking only about one other company's business plan. And then the third type of job that we're hiring for right now is what I would call technical channel managers, or SEs for the channel. So the people that can go out and help make our software work in the best possible way with and through our partners. Those are the three jobs we're hiring for right now, Randy.
Awesome, great. And we'll talk after, but I know recruiting company I think could help you as well.
Imagine that.
Yeah, how about that? All right. So title topic is the first 90 days. So you literally just finished your 90 days. So you're right in the sweet spot. I'm a disciple for sure of kind of 30, 60, 90-day plans. But for those that don't know, maybe kind of give an overview in terms of, why is it important? And then we'll go into some of the mechanics.
Yeah, for all of us that have chosen sales for our profession, we know that if you become the president of a country, you get 100 days before everybody starts judging your performance. But in our jobs, we get 90 days. So in the first 90 days, I did what anybody listening here would probably have expected me to do, and that is to get out and meet several audiences of people that I need to know really well, and they need to know me so well that they feel comfortable picking up the phone and calling me when times get tough. So the first audience that I got out in the first 90 days and met, by the way, we divide the Americas into 7 areas, and so I just pushed my way out into all 7 areas in the first 90 days. And the first audience I met with were leaders of our partners. And so usually I would try to pick a sales leader and a technical leader, whether pre-sales or delivery, and get to know the partner, get to hear their unvarnished perspective of what it's like to work with us. The second community of people that I got out to meet are a really, really good direct sales organization. We've got a very strong sales organization that we've segmented into 3 segments. If anybody draws a pyramid, at the top of our pyramid, we call them strategic accounts, and they're all the customers that have over $5 billion in revenues. Our middle segment is up to $5 billion, and that's called enterprise. And then we have an SMB segment at the bottom with a lower touch, lower cost model. And so I got out and met a lot of primarily the enterprise and strategic account execs and key account directors, and tried to understand what their comfort level was in selling with a partner, because you got to give up some control and you got to be willing to let the partners do some work. And from that, I tried to get to know a group of people that are going to be really key to our success, Randy. While this company has built over the last 10 years a great company, and I highly value the people that have been here for a long time and the institutional knowledge they've been so kind to share with me, there's a group of people that I've gotten to know in my first 90 days that are going to be really important to our future growth, because our company went out and hired in the Americas 7 people to help accelerate our growth to become a much bigger software company. I mentioned earlier Dan Monahan, who's not only worked in the channel at great companies like Insight and CDW, but he's led the channel for companies like VMware and Cohesity. We brought in Mark David to run our partner programs and operations for our partner business. Mark comes to us from Cohesity and NetApp. And in our sales organization, we've hired some fantastic leaders. I mentioned the segmentation of our sales organization, Randy. So while I was out there in the first 90 days, I made sure to spend a lot of time with Chris Larkins, who came to us from Palo Alto Networks and VMware and Cisco. And Chris is leading our charge into these top greater than $5 billion companies. I've had a chance to get to know a second person who leads our enterprise sales organization now, Lynn Ramirez. Lynn comes to us from HashiCorp and VMware and Cisco, and she's now leading our enterprise sales organization. And then I've got the good fortune to work under a great new chief revenue officer that our company brought in Denise Walter, who comes to us with long tenures at VMware and Cisco, among other places. So great sales organization. So I kind of divided my time: partners, direct sales reps, and then the leaders of the multiple sales organizations that I'll be teaming up with. How's that for a long answer?
There you go. Awesome. And we're getting some comments here. So Tucker, if we can pull them in. Looks like LinkedIn user. I don't know if they're same or different people. Simple is always key in the channel in terms of enablement and selling. Absolutely what you had mentioned before. And Tucker just texted in to say it is Chad Blackwell. Awesome. Chad is channels at Commvault, I think, right?
All right.
Good thing I got that right. And I think you just had a cool post too I meant to comment on. So sorry, Chad. But yeah, definitely Simple for sure. Mark David is the best. And say hello to Dan for me. Great guy. So I guess they probably overlap. But certainly those people that you have all from best in class companies. And I guess we take a step back from a 90-day plan perspective as a leader. I always approach it to say, and I would kind of share with whoever it was on the team to say, hey, look, coming in, I have some ideas, want to be respectful for the culture, but kind of to your point, if I kind of segment it out, kind of the first 30 days is really a listening tour. Yeah, as a leader, you've been hired because usually there's something that needs to be fixed. Usually it's not everything's going great. So you kind of listen, get an understanding of the culture, the mission, the values, getting out there with the channel partners and customers, I think are fantastic. Kind of the next 30 days, you start to kind of cement in some of your ideas. You see kind of how things play. The next 90 days, then you're really kind of putting together the plan. So I'd imagine you, after this 90 days, are not to put you on the spot, you probably have kind of put together to say, okay, look, I got some inputs. You may agree or agree to disagree, but net is kind of, hey, here's our plan going forward. Works out perfect that it's January 1st for the year. So is that kind of the path that you've been on, and now you have something of a plan then that you can kind of articulate internally and externally?
Yeah, the answer is yes. Let me share a little bit more. So after 90 days of hearing a lot from people, I sat down with a number of people, including Dan Monahan and others, and we've formulated 6 primary breakthrough goals that we expect to achieve in the next 2 to 4 quarters. So I'll bring my own team together in New York in January. We're going to workshop our way through these 6 breakthrough goals, and we're going to talk about chunking them up into different chunks of time. As any good leader would do, we're going to measure the heck out of everything. One of my favorite measurements is measuring the number of sellers that are quoting and selling our products that are employed by partners. I like to refer to when you add to your channel, there's internal recruiting and external recruiting. So, external recruiting's hard. It's going to new companies and trying to convince them why they should pick up Darktrace in my case. Internal recruiting is hard, but it's much easier because you're going to any partner where maybe 1/3 of their sellers are quoting and selling your products, and it's getting to the other 2/3. And that's what we're going to be really focused on. So as we look at the next 90 days, fortunately, as we enter our third quarter, I'll get to join Lynn Ramirez and her sales vice presidents for the enterprise segment, and we will build a strategy together. I believe strongly, Randy, I'm sure you do too, that when you When you run a partner organization, you're accountable every 13-week quarter to two communities of people. One is the partners, and they are going to give you a scorecard whether you want it or not at the end of every 13 weeks. But the other is your sales organization. And so we consider ourselves highly accountable to Lynn and Chris's sales organization. So the 6 goals that we're working on, I'll be working through those together with Lynn and Chris and with their vice presidents that lead various parts of the sales organization. And then the last part, you're very perceptive in the way you laid it out, is to go external and tell as many partners what we're doing as we can. So I'm just glancing down at my calendar for the month of January. It's not going to get any easier, but I'm going to go out and do it in person. We'll be in Austin, Philadelphia, New York, London, Mexico City, Bogota, Sao Paulo, and Rio, all in the month of January. So we'll get the word out there as fast as we can.
Nice. Well, United Airlines, here you come.
They like me.
And so we also have a question. So again, totally appreciate these comments and questions. So want to be supportive. So anybody that's listening or watching, please keep chiming in. So question is, Scott, what is the culture you like to build into your channel, both internal and external? So again, you can talk about it all day, but I guess briefly, go ahead.
I'll give you the real short version. So I'm going to make it easier on everybody. We very publicly tell people who we want to be. I have already told our sales organization how I want to see them talking about us when we're not in the room. And over the years, Randy, I've developed a list of 50 things that I think in sum total end up making the culture you have, whether that's what you wanted it to be or not. And so I have this list of 50 things. I'll post it after we talk today out on LinkedIn, because I'm completely fine with our partners seeing it. Our sales force has already seen it. And there's a set of 50 things that we hold ourselves accountable to every 13-week quarter in the way we show up in month 1, month 2, and month 3. And, I guess the second thing I'll say on culture is, I think if you start every quarter remembering that you're accountable to both your own sales organization and the partners, you know this, Randy, but there's some inherent conflict in there. Our partners will often have a different quarter end than we have. So we're asking them to do us favors and make sure month 3 of our quarter goes real well. But if we're going to ask that, we also have to be there for them when they ask us to do them favors at the end of their quarter. So we'll work our way through that, and we'll create the culture that we're going to have and the way people talk about us when we're not part of the conversation.
Awesome. That's great. Thanks for the question there, whether it's chat or whoever. And we're talking about first 90 days. I'll give a commercial. I've got a good write-up and a few other leaders who contributed in my book. Tucker, throw the link up. But it's definitely, just to circle back, the kind of 90-day methodology. So we covered some things as a leader, but if you go back, if you're an individual contributor rep, how many times have you and I gone to organizations where, I'll say at the end of the day, you just have bad talent and they've been there 2, 3, 4, 5 years. And the idea with the 90-day plan is, if you're kind of a new rep coming in, you've got, similar to a leader, but you're going to have your, kind of first month, okay, here's the metrics. You got to learn, used to be able to say learn where the bathroom is in the code, but maybe not be going to the office, but, learn the, ins and outs of the company, the product offerings, start to do sales calls. Second month, kind of build a pipeline, get more sales calls. Third month, hopefully start to sell some things. And if you can kind of metric and measure those things, typically after 90 days, no matter where you are in the organization, but especially at individual contributor levels, whether it's sales or pre-sales or anything, you have an idea, okay, is that person a keeper or not? Maybe they need to be coached, maybe they need to be developed, but I'm passionate about that after the 3 months, and I think it's a shortfalling on management when you have somebody who's been there for 2, 3, 4 years. Everybody knows they're bad. You should have just managed them out or coached them to develop, to improve. What do you think?
Yeah. So first of all, you held up your book, and I reference your book quite often, and I mean that sincerely. Matter of fact, if you haven't noticed yet, if you look over my shoulder, it's
there it is. All right. Nice.
I read a lot from people like you and John McMahon and others that have written good books. I tell everybody, there is a recipe for what we're doing. Like we're not inventing how to sell widgets to people. And so there's only so many ways to do this, and there's good ways and there's bad ways. So the way we're going to approach this, Randy, with our direct sales organization and alongside our partners is we're going to tell them what that recipe looks like, how to be successful. And I call that, partnering best practices. And then we go one step further. After we've established partnering best practices, we write them down. And I call that rules of engagement. So are we going to have rules here? Absolutely. But the only thing the rules are the best practices written down because we know how to do this.
Yeah, absolutely. Good stuff. And then, by the way, we can talk offline, but Tommy and Billy, my boys in the off season are selling the books. I told them whatever they sell, they get to keep. So if you want any for your team, they're happy to take care of it. They can send it anywhere. They can put nice little, custom cards in there that you can do to the team. So
fair enough.
Something nice gift there. So your book, I got to take a glimpse at it that you shared with me. Thanks for that. But it's called Navigating Often Rough Seas While Building Great Sales and Partner Teams. And I'm sure you're going to be very humble about this, but really just amazing, kind of almost like a memoir, kind of your rise from poverty into leading sales organizations. So maybe just tell us a little bit more about the book.
Oh, thanks, Randy. The title of the book will be Simple But Hard, and that's because a lot of what we choose to do, those of us that choose sales as a profession.
I left out the first part there. I'm sorry. Simple but hard.
Right. That's all right. Simple but hard is a reminder that I've always told myself at the start of every 13-week quarter that what we are asked to do sounds so simple. When I first went into sales, my sales manager said, there's only two things I'm going to ask of you. You need to forecast quota every quarter, and you need to exceed your forecast every quarter. Two things, right? And as all of us know that have done it for a while, and I think I'm whatever it would be, 156 quarters in at this point, it's a lot harder than it sounds like. And so the book shares some ideas that I've learned that have worked pretty well over the years in leading direct sales organizations, ideas that I've learned in how to partner. I think there are productive and good ways to partner, and I think there are lousy ways to partner. And I'll give you an example. Since time immemorial, channels is a give to get game. And one of the things people get wrong all the time is that, a direct sales organization wants to take complete control of a sales process. And then at the very end, they ask purchasing, which partner do you like to use? And then they let the paper go through a partner. And then they bitch and moan because the partner didn't do enough in the sale. And so if you just reverse engineer that and first focus on training and enablement and get a well-educated channel that knows how to sell your stuff and they know you're going to be a predictable and consistent partner, then it's a whole lot easier to let them take on more of the process of the sale and to help you. So the book, Simple But Hard, will go through. It's an epic read. It's 164 chapters. It's quite a page turner, but it'll come out sometime around June or July this year, and hopefully one or two people here might buy it.
Awesome. All right. We'll look forward to helping with the push there. So moving on within kind of partner practices, certainly kind of partner sales ops and rev ops is really important, just like it is on any kind of any sales organization, right?
Hey, Randy. With my apology, that's the first time you cut out for a moment for me, so I'm going to have to ask you to go backwards on that one. I've got you back now.
Okay, sorry about that. We're just talking about the importance of partner sales ops and rev ops.
Yeah. So I'll tell you what. We had a really successful run during a period of time when Bill Lipson globally and me for the Americas were leading the channel at NetApp. But the third most important person in that equation was Mark David, who was then running partner operations and basically sales operations for the channel. And for any of you that do this for a living, getting the contra revenue charges that might be market development funds or partner development funds alongside the OpEx spend that you're going to make and figure out within your SG&A how much you want to spend on sales professionals and how much you want to spend on programs. that is tough sledding, but like anything else, there's a recipe for it, and Mark knows the recipe very well. So I am so fortunate to rejoin Mark again in this effort that we're undertaking right now. I know he is going to build a fantastic partner portal and partner presence and sales and technical enablement of our channel, and I'll work alongside him, being his kind of 13-week tacticianer to drive the numbers every quarter.
Awesome. That's so great. And you pick Gong as the company you want to have as a sponsor. And although you've not technically used it, you've got some interesting thoughts on the use and how Gong's AI background and Darktrace's AI background kind of go together.
Yeah. So while I've not personally subscribed to their services yet, I have had a chance to meet the senior leadership team of Gong, and I'm very impressed by what they've done with their applied use of artificial intelligence. Like Darktrace, they've taken artificial intelligence and put it to a purpose and use it in increasing sales and sales opportunities for companies. And I'm impressed by the work they've done thus far, and impressed by the leadership that they have. I think you can tell the future of almost any company by the senior most leadership they have, and that says good things for the future of Gong.
Yes, absolutely, for sure. Great call. So we're running out of time here, but lots of great questions. So again, anybody that's watching in, feel free to make any comments or ask any questions. So in your book, you have a chapter talking about leadership, and you talk about leader versus dictator.
Yeah. So, I've done this long enough that I've worked for, 21, 22, 23 different senior leaders of sales organizations. And while I'm not dumb enough to call them out by name, I've worked for some tyrannical bullies, and I've worked for some people that I'll tell you what, I would spend every Sunday, every holiday doing whatever they needed me to do to make their numbers. And I think that's the difference between dictatorship and leadership. I used to work for a person. He was a guy, and he used to, with almost everything he would say, that's not a request, that's an effing commandment or command. And I think you can, through fear and intimidation, get results over a short period of time. I don't think you get results over a long period of time. I plan to be here for a long time with the same sales leaders and the same sales organization at Darktrace. And I think building a plan that you bring everybody into and painting a vision of the future is a far better way to be a leader. The last thing I'll say is the best leaders I've worked for have a unique ability. They have an ability to clearly articulate the current state, to be very sober in their assessment of where they are today. Secondly, they have a very strong ability to paint a picture of the future. If you were above the fold on the front section of the Wall Street Journal, what might that article say about you 3 years from now? And then the third goal, or the third area of leadership, I think is the most important one that a lot of people don't get right. And that is, how do you close the gap between that current state and desired state? What are the things you need to do, and can you measure them, and can you make sure you're going to arrive not only at the destination you want to arrive at, but in the time frame that you told your investors or your leaders that you're going to get there by?
Yeah, absolutely, for sure. Let's see here. So maybe a good dovetail from there would be a couple sales leaders maybe that you kind of respect, and why. I know there's a lot. You did a great post the other day, mentioned, I don't know, probably 10, 20 of them, but any kind of maybe, two in particular you want to carve out?
Yeah, I'll carve out just a couple. And by the way, picking out a couple does not mean that many others that I didn't learn something different from them, but I do think you learn different things from different people. First of all, at the highest level of a company, the best CEO I ever worked under was Lou Platt, who unfortunately passed away in 2005, but led Hewlett Packard and later Boeing. And I worked with Lou in the mid 90s, I think from around 92 to 99. And he was the least pretentious, most involved CEO of a major publicly held corporation that I had ever worked with at that very young stage of my career. And I learned a ton from him. I had the great fortune when I went to NetApp, Tom Mendoza was then the vice chairman and had previously been president. And I know you've had Tom on this series, and anybody who's ever had a chance to talk to Tom or listen to Tom or have a conversation, they know what a strong leader he is and the principles that he has that are so true in leading a group of people. And those are probably the two people that I would single out. As I left NetApp, they had brought on a brilliant chief revenue officer by the name of Henri Richard. And Henri was very gracious to teach me a lot about how to prosecute a 13-week quarter and how to go 4-4-5 in the 3 months of that quarter. And man, I learned a lot from Henri. And I think all of us can learn a lot from people, and you get different things from different leaders that you work under.
Absolutely, for sure. The only downside with Mendoza is, he went to Notre Dame, but try not to hold that against him, right? Not too much. So interestingly enough, you say that you've led sales teams through 4 recessions during your career in 1990, 2001, 2008, and 2020. Any kind of 1 or 2 things that you've learned from that?
Yeah, while it would be rare that somebody would ever wish a recession on a sales organization, man, is it ever a great opportunity to take market share. Through 4 recessions, I learned, I guess, 2 strong lessons. Lesson number 1 is that is the time when people are receding and trying to peel back costs that you go take market share from other vendors with whom you compete. And the second lesson I learned is you got to get creative. In the last recession I went through, I hired 220 inside sales reps and built out a lower cost model. And with the inside sales reps and the partners working together, we were selling so much together in a much lower cost model, which was needed in the recession. And the second thing we did was we launched an e-commerce portal. I'll never forget, I had a brilliant group of people I was working with to develop an e-commerce portal, and people above me in the organization that I'll leave nameless said, nobody's ever going to buy business-to-business stuff on an e-commerce portal. And guess what? They do, and they did.
Yeah, absolutely. What about advice for your younger self, right? So you've kind of done the book, you've kind of really looked back through everything and great learnings and everything else. Anything you'd go back and wish you did different or better?
Yeah. So first of all, I've been very fortunate to have a really, really fun career. And so I've been very fortunate to have now 5 companies that I've been able to work with, and I've learned so much from each of them. But if I had it to do over again, I guess probably maybe learning earlier on that, how you respond in hard times and in crisis is going to make you a lot better leader. I was, without dwelling on it too much, I was a heck of a lot more volatile, a lot louder, probably a lot meaner in my younger years. And some things have happened that have caused me to get maybe a little bit of perspective, you might say, in life. And, what I see happen in week 13 of a quarter is no longer what I'd consider a crisis to be. So if I could have been maybe a little bit more balanced in my 20s and 30s, that would have been a good idea. But at least finally I learned it now.
Well, that's great. So time flies when you're having fun here. So thanks for those that have chimed in. Maybe last question I like to ask those that know me, any PG Randy story to share?
So Randy, you would have no reason to remember this, but it's always amused me that when you and I were working together, you were running the broader enterprise sales organization that dwarfed the little business that I was running in software. And you and I would go to the same big tent partner events, usually held by a distributor or by partners. And we'd show up to these huge events, and these partners would always come up to me. And I'm talking about, this didn't happen once or twice. This happened like 30 times. People would come up to me and I thought, oh, great, they want to meet me. And they would say, hey, that's Randy Seidel over there. Can you introduce me to him? So my biggest contribution at one stage in my career was introducing other people to you.
Oh, thanks. I appreciate that. Interesting. So thank you. You've been amazing. Tucker, thanks for your help behind the scenes. Next week, we have John Byrne, who's president at Dell. He's got a great title topic, Evolution of the Customer Journey. So lots of nuggets, great wisdom here, Scott. Really appreciate it. Look forward to having your book out, and everybody else will get kind of posted and reposted across all the usual social mediums. And wish everybody a great week, and feel free to refer anybody in here as well as to sales community.
Hey, Randy, if I could just close out by, I'd be remiss if I didn't congratulate you. You said at the outset that you've done over 150 of these. That is truly impressive. That is very cool. I listen to them a lot. I watch them, sometimes just listen to them, but they give me great ideas. I'm glad you're out there doing it. Thanks for the role you're playing in the sales community and the advisory board.
Appreciate it. We're actually, interestingly enough, if you want to book now, it's actually, I think February of 2030. So we're booked out weekly over the next 6 years, which is crazy. So a bunch of my friends will be like, how come you haven't had me on? I'm like, oh, sorry. Okay, so I'll book you. It's far out. But anyway, so it's all good. But thanks for that. And thanks for all you do for the sales community as well. All right, everybody, have a great one. Thanks.